RC YouTube land. This will be my first video. I'm going to show y'all some of the RCs that I've got and what I've done to them, and what I've had to do to them. Give you sort of a quick review on all of them, which I'm sure all you guys on the YouTube of RC land have seen all these and pretty much know what all of the good parts are and what are the bad parts. I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I've purchased, and tell you what I got, and then show you some of the, what do you want? Some black gold. That's Fred. Not really, his name's Diesel, but I call him Fred. I call a lot of people Fred. Lay down. Lay down and be good. And no, you missed out. Already smoked. Alright, so what we're working with here is ax24 that I bought, well, that I asked for Christmas. Mom kept complaining that I never got nothing to open on Christmas. I always wanted money, so I said, well, fine then, don't complain whenever I ask for toys. But we'll start with the frame, actually. What I have here is an Endure carbon fiber frame that I have taken one of the stock frame rails, as you can see right here, and I cut it in half, and I extended the ax24 Endure carbon fiber frame back to here so that I can move my shock mounts back. These are original ax24 shocks, and I have some springs off of a $15 Walmart toy, which you'll hear more about that $15 Walmart toy here in a minute. Don't mind my duct tape, that's just holding my cap on where I stripped it. And these pieces of rubber right here, just so that my shocks don't come up all the way over top of my my shock mounts, because they are just a hair too big. But when you don't have money and you're a redneck, you figure out ways. Alright, now down under here I went with deadbolt length lower rears that I've fabricated somewhat, having the limited tools that I have out of steel. And you can see right here, I didn't have any rubber ends or have any way to thread this steel so to put rod ends on it. So what I done is the hole where the screw comes through the skid plate, I gotta get used to this. Here, I guess. Where the screw comes through the frame rail, through the skid plate that holds the lower link on. I just ovaled out the hole just a bit, probably double the size of the screw. But what I did after that was I took some heat shrink that I put it over top of the rod end, and all I did was just poke the screw through it. I didn't make the hole no bigger so that it didn't waller around a whole bunch, but it would still have elasticity and hold around the screw, but would still allow these links not to bind up. I took the lowers, stock lowers, moved them to the uppers, which I bent roughly to the same as I did the lowers. I have ramp crab servos around both ends. Don't mind the missing screw on the servo horn. And I took one of my many purchased servo mounts for another servo that I bought, flipped it upside down, and I know you can see all the hot glued it to the servo mount of the ramp crab to raise my upper links up. The reason that I extended the frame was so that my shock position would be better having the deadbolt length lower, stretching out the back end as much as I did, because the shock placement was pretty rough. I was having to run it in the very back upper hole, and on these Enjoras, there's 9 holes through here that you can choose from, and it just had my springs or my shocks laying too much forward. I was still having a lot of problem with tip over. Now, I do have weight in the back wheels. I've got 25 BBs each in each back wheel. I have the stock steering arms on the back, which I stiffened by taking a clothes hanger and gluing it to the bottom of the steering link. I also took a zip tie and zip tied the steering link from here, from the horn, to the main steering link. That made it took up a lot of the slop out of it, you know, because these things are notorious for having slop. I've got 4mm hex extenders, front and rear. I have extended the front. I went and got me a set of stock links, and I took the lower rears, put them on the front, and then found the best out of the two, or out of the others, to put on the uppers. I moved the uppers to outside of the frame rail using parts of one of the shock mounts that I have totally destroyed. It came stock with this unit, which you can tell there is no battery tray, there is nothing left from the original frame whatsoever, except for the one that I cut in half and used for the frame extension, and the skid plate, which is going to be changed very, very soon. Now, I made my own frame stiffeners. Out of pieces of ballpoint pen. Filled them with hot glue. And it seemed to work out pretty well. I also put just a hair super glue on each one to hold them so that they held a little bit better. And I also have a screw in on each one of them. On these rails, what I did is I cut them in half and I super glued them to the carbon fiber, and I put a bolt through into that frame stiffener rail, cross member, whatever you want to call it. And I'm running a Hot RC 6T CT6A transmitter and 6-channel receiver. I'm running a stock transmission. I'm running the Enjora 50 series 50 turn brushed with the ESC. I'm still running 2S batteries. Of course, I've got ramp crab up in the front. And on the front, I have the ramp crab brass steering links as well. Now, you can see on the inside of that wheel right there, that little big copper looking. Well, what that is a brass bushing that I had around the shop, actually around a buddy's shop. I took and cut one brass bushing down into 3 pieces. So they're roughly, let me see, using from another wheel here, they're roughly 5mm thick, and I'm running 38 grams of BBs in the front. I can't remember if that's 100 or 120. I'm running 20% overdrive in the front from Enjora. I am a little medicated at the present time because I forgot where I was. I don't mind my wire management. It's a little ugly and nasty. And whenever I first started this thing, I watched a lot of YouTube. I watched Cape Crawlers, I watched Sliding Sideways, I watched 2FMRC, watched CCXRC, I watched Exo Cage, I watched Cape Crawlers. I watched all kinds of guys. Do RC. I watched a bunch of guys that had information on these ax24s, so I knew what I was getting into whenever I got the car to begin with. But I started watching old Waffles RC and watching him making his own stuff, and that's whenever I just started to decide that I was going to make some stuff too. And I made the links and I made the weights for the front. Also have some Amazon brass knuckles up on the front up here. Still running the stock tires, stock everything, pretty much transmission gear and axle set wise, you know. I did go with the long drive shaft and the medium in the front, I believe. I am going to uncase the receiver and waterproof it, because it is not waterproof whatsoever. They tell you that from factory. But the Enjoy ESC does come waterproof as well as a motor. So I'm going to uncase the receiver and waterproof it, and probably mount it right on top of the ESC on the skids, because I am going to put the sliders back on this. I just don't have them on there right at the moment, because it'll help hold my ESC better, because the batteries that I'm running, I can't remember what brand they are. I bought them off the Amazon there, but it's just a 2S. I think it's it's a 850 milliamp hour 30C. 2-cell lipo that I run right here in the front. Now, I started doing all kind of stuff whenever I got this thing, just because I watched Waffles and he just totally got my mind going, you know what I mean? And I had bought a set of these smaller tires off Amazon. They're pretty cheap. They got foams in them. They're a good soft compound, but they're not, you know, rough as a tread, but they do pretty good on the rocks. They're just not a very big tire compared to the 64s on the ax24. These are like I believe a 56 or 58, I believe. Let me see. Wow, I apologize. They're 53, but also put the brass weights down in there. And how I did that is I just cut it off at 5 millimeters with a Dremel and a cutoff wheel, and I super glued them in there. Now, I really got inspired to sort of make this a tribute rig, but one of my favorite YouTubers, his tow truck doesn't have 4-wheel drive steer, but I wanted to make dual axles for it anyway, for Trailmator. If y'all haven't watched him, check out his YouTube channel and go subscribe to him, man. He puts out a lot of good content, and I tell you what, that boy can drive. So I took those wheels because I'd ordered one set, left them laying on the table. Well, my mom's little mop dog decided she liked to taste the rubber and ate one of them. So Mom turned around and she said, well, my dog ate it, I'll buy you some more, which she spent $10 and bought me another set. So I had 7 of these tires. And I couldn't figure out, I wanted to make a dual tire setup, and everything that I've seen on YouTube just looked way too hard and way too, let's just put it, engineered for my liking. So what I did is I took one of those brass bushings. I should have used something other than brass because of the weight. And I hollowed out 2 of those wheels, except for the outer ring, and I stuck that there brass bushing all the way down on the outside of the inner wheel, and then I shoved this wheel that I deleted all the structural everything on and slid it over the bushing and glued it and made a set of doilies. Now, I'll tell you, it's pretty cool having a 4-wheel drive steered dually, but it is hard on the axles and hard on the servos. I'll go ahead and tell you, I figured that out. And I'm an old toy grade hobby guy toy grade RC guy from back in the 80s. Good toy grade, you know, Montgomery Ward stuff, the higher dollar stuff from back then, that was toy grade. And I just now got back into RCs, and this is like, wow, you know what I mean? It's like a kid in a candy store. But I did a lot of research on everything that I bought and knew that I was going to be putting a lot into this. Now, the body that I'm using is the cage off that $15 Walmart toy. Okay, I'll show you more about it here in a minute. But I needed mounts for the body. So I was trying to figure out some standoffs. Well, the very second RC that I got since I got back into RCs, besides the $15 Walmart toy, was one of those little 18th or 24 scale bashers. I believe it was a H17 or Q17. Little 3S, or it's supposed to be 2S, but I think it's got a 2200 series motor in it, brush motor, and it had ended up going into parts because some stuff had broke on it, and I didn't want to try to find parts to repair it. So I was just looking around, and these little bushings right here, one on each side, are from the steering on that little buggy that I had. A little mini basher, I guess, what you would call it. And they just happen to be the perfect size to go right there where that cage is. Now, West Virginia RednecksRus, so we like our stars and bars. We don't hate nobody. We don't care how long God left you in the oven, or in my case, didn't even put me in. You know, we're equal opportunity people. We don't care. It don't bother us, so don't think of us throwing around a Confederate flag or something as us being racist. It's not anything like that whatsoever. But I took that cage, and I took old bandana I had, and I'm making this body look all rugged and burnt and twisted up. And he's got his own little 2A protection area program there that I made out of the body mounts, and another mount off of this ax24. And a good friend of mine, Matt, he donated me the Lego feller there, and he donated a couple of them actually, and then one of them was Batman, and I took Batman's hat off her and put him on the old school Lego man there, and he's missing an arm. He's not Lieutenant Dan. He's not missing 2 legs. He's missing a arm, or a hand, I mean. But if you can't tell, his hat's on a little sideways. That's a little nod to my buddy over there at Sliding Sideways RC. Had to do it. Had to do it. So yeah, that's pretty much what we've done with the axe. I will put a little running video of it out here in the next day or so. I'm having a hard time getting used to this video editing stuff, guys. But now, I also wanted to show you one of the paint jobs I did, because I got the rlaarlo Omni Terminator, and I'll tell you what, the bodies on them things are junk. So I went out to the local hobby stop, got me a Proline Raptor body that I painted up myself, of course, you can tell. Got my stickers on there and all the stuff. How we feel about that alphabet there soup. And I got our WVRednecksRus in the back of the windshield, or in the windshield there. Got some mud all over that black, matte black paint. Got mud all over it. And here in West Virginia, you know, you go out mudding, well, you wear the mud for 3 or 4 days, just show off how deep you got in the mud hole, you know what I mean? And got some grass all over it, which I figured the grass was going to come off. But I textured the mud and all the stuff and things. Now, on the inside, I took the shoe goo and drywall tape to another dimension, I should say, because I don't know if it's any better or if it's any worse. But I didn't have any shoe goo or any E6000 because I done used it all up and never bought shoe goo in my life. But I had some ax24 acrylic latex caulk laying around, and I had a few tubes of it. Now that stuff's about $1.80, $2 a tube. Well, I took it, spread it on there, and then put that mesh tape on there for my body reinforcement. It's done pretty good. Now this body is a little big. Hold on, move this WL for a minute. Now this body fits pretty darn good. Move over, grinder. But it covers up front bumper. Now if y'all notice, I've got the aluminum version that I just dearly love. But for this body to fit on here correctly and look good, it covers up the bumper on the front. But that's no big deal, because to tell you the truth, I think it looks pretty darn good on there. What do y'all think? Now, a lot of people use that Tamiya weathering kit that they got out there. Well, I'll tell you what, boys and girls. See how it's a little white coming through here? Well, that's where I hit something the other day. That right there, the texture that I made the mud out of and on the front, I used that ax24 caulk. Now, it's acrylic latex, and it's a paintable caulk, but it won't absorb paint. You can just paint over it. So, if you do use this for weathering or mud technique for the for your paint job, you may want to go get collared ax24 because they sell this stuff in hundreds of colors probably. I mean, they've got them in daggone every color under the sun. Now I'm going to finish out these wheels with the red highlights. I just did one of them just to see how I'd like it. Now, the only thing I broke on this thing is I broke this CVD, and it was because I sent it and didn't really know exactly how much I sent it whenever I sent it. And I'm not real good with air control yet, but I think some bigger tires would help that out. I bent the shock tower on the front right here. If you can't tell, it's pretty good and bent back this way. And I'd say this bolt pretty much bent, and so is this one. But other than that, that's the only thing I've tore up all, and this would be the second time that I've had to re-glue in my power button, which I did the first time as soon as I got it out of the box, which I've heard some other people talk about their double-sided tape not being any good. Now I do have the 19 tooth pinion in this. I'm getting ready to take it back out and put the 16 back in it, for the simple fact it just wants to cog a little bit, and if off-roading, I don't want to tear something up, you know. It does make it go faster and do better in the air, but I'm going to sacrifice that, just put some bigger tires on it, and go back down to the 16 tooth pinion. I'm still running stock size battery. Now I have a battery that I purchased, not sure of the, oh okay, yeah, this is it. Now I bought them little XT60 to Dean's connectors because my WL has Dean's and this one has XT60s, and I didn't really want to have to cut one of the battery terminals or anything. But this is the battery that I'm using instead of using the stock 2200 milliamp, but it's a 30C discharge 3-cell, and this does way better than the rlaarlo. And I believe, to tell you the gosh honest truth, they look like they're almost made by the same company, but I don't know. Still haven't moved the ESC and put the bigger trays in here because I don't have any bigger batteries or any fundage at the present time to purchase bigger batteries. And then we're going to move on to the $100 money pit, which I dearly love. But wltoys, my bad, knock you all over. wltoys 124019. I mean 17 because this is the brushless. And I wished I would have paid attention whenever I was watching the videos, doing the research of these about greasing the diffs, because I didn't at first, and I didn't go through and tighten up every single bolt. I thought I had, but I'd forgot a couple. And I'd forgotten the C-knuckle bolt on top, I believe. And it left a chat within 45 seconds of me driving it the first time, which made my axle come out. I had to find it all. That was real fun. Now, this car's had probably 25 batteries to it since I got it. And I got it back in mid-April. No, I got this right around the 1st of May, right around my birthday. And I've already had to put new CVs, they're new I just said it. Spindles. You know what I'm talking about right here. Them C spindles. I've had to put, I did put CVDs in the rear because I had a problem with dog bones coming out and breaking. I did have to replace the diff because I didn't grease the diffs like I should have. And I also had to replace the shock tower and diff cover here because I decided I was going to take a buggy and make it a basher. Well, these aren't made to do that. I figured that out. These are made to go fast. And they're made to go really, really fast, pretty inexpensively. And they're made to be on a track. Well, anytime you have a race car, you've got to work on them constantly, and you got to take care of them. You can't just beat them up like I do that wltoys Terminator, because I totally bash this truck. I mean, and let's put it this way, this wltoys performance on 2S out of the box outdid my driving ability of said RC car at high speeds. It totally outweighed my abilities. It busted me up. I was making a curve into one road and didn't quite really realize I took it as hard as I did. Well, I went face first into a sidewalk. Well, the front wheel, or right front wheel, left the chat again, went straight up, the whole wheel and everything. That's the reason I had to replace that C-hub. Had to replace this C-hub because the bearing went bad. But I totally love this truck, this buggy. It is fast, it drives like a breeze. Now, I put the 3S battery out of the rlaarlo in it. Some say that the ESC will hold it, some say that it won't. Well, this one did, a small one anyway. And I'll tell you what, it does not need 3S for my driving ability as of yet. Now, I did buy me some Amazon tires and wheels because I've done more of the stock wheels and tires plumb bald. Still no bent chassis. Scraped all the heck, but nothing bent. So as of now, that's my RC collection. And guys, this isn't just going to be an RC channel. It's going to have all kinds of other cool stuff on it. Redneck full-size type death trap builds. Might see a little hunting, might see a little fishing, might see some UFOs, might see drone videos. It's hard to tell with me. But I'm going to try to do something, at least every Monday or Tuesday on RCs, and go into more of what I've done and show you some videos. That'll be coming up here pretty soon. Some videos of beginning of the axe build up through now, if I can get all the videos transferred over onto my computer, because don't ever get a Galaxy Z Flip 4. I'm sorry, Samsung, I love y'all to death, but the Z Flip 4s, the screens are very, very, very undependable. Didn't have anything in my pockets either time that I've had a problem with my screen, and I've already had the screen replaced once. This will be the second one if I get it done in under a year. Features are great otherwise, they're just like the 23, but the screen folds, and instead of trying to be the cool guy and want the cool thing, I should have just went with a regular Samsung phone instead of the regular Galaxy S series instead of the flip phone. But oh well, c'est la vie, they say. Well, I want to thank you all who have subscribed already. I know James over James Garage RC. I know Sliding Sideways has, and a few of you other guys. And I'm sorry that I haven't got your names right off. I know my buddy Andrew, my buddy Bopper, them guys have subscribed, and there's been a few others. And I'll give you a shout out on the next video. I really appreciate you guys, and don't hesitate, medicate, and support your Second Amendment, because that's the only thing we have in this country is keeping us from tyrannical government overtaking us. It's the reason that our founders and our forefathers put the Second Amendment the way they did, just so that it was plain and simple, and to know that the United States citizen needed to be able to protect themselves, protect their family from bad people and from tyrannical governments, because they had just went through exactly why they put that Second Amendment into the Constitution, because they had just stood up to a tyrannical government with their guns that they supplied. Guys, y'all keep them straight out there. Don't let the aliens take you. And thank you for your subscribing. Hit the like button and share this video with somebody it might help. And we'll go on into more detail on this stuff later on. Just wanted to get a basic overview of what I'm going to do with the channel and some of the toys that I got.